Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So the usual antics in the usual places. Fresh off of BLM Brandon Johnson's executive order declaring Chicago not only a sanctuary city, but an ice-free zone, and putting up little signs that they make in shop class that ICE agents aren't allowed to stage here and stage there. Okay. Well, L.A. and Portland want to get in on the act. You know, all of these open borders, sanctuary city, sanctuary state politicians want to, follow suit, feed their neo-Marxist-based voters the red meat that is required to hold them at bay and enjoy their support. Portland, fresh off a meeting there between the mayor and Kristi Noem, DHS secretary, that didn't go so well, according to both parties. Portland City Council has an anti-ICE resolution.
Mainly because of its sanctuary status and its refusal to help federal immigration enforcement efforts. City councilors now doubling down on that stance with a resolution aimed at protecting Portlanders from federal agents. It calls on the mayor to take a number of actions, including directing the city attorney to take legal action when feds use excessive force against protesters, asking the mayor to dig up information on federal and military activity in Portland, and it calls on the mayor to order Portland police to start documenting when ICE agents detain people in Portland. Council President Ilana Partle-Guinea says councilors have been paying close attention to federal troop deployment in other cities like Chicago.
And in L.A. County, the Board of Supervisors there has declared a state of emergency in order to aid and abet illegal immigrants in L.A. County.
Breaking news now, L.A. County has declared a state of emergency over the immigration raids. The Board of Supervisors voted today. Board members say the raids are preventing people from going to work and forcing some businesses to close. The emergency allows the board to look at enacting an eviction moratorium and other protections for people impacted by the raids. And this news just coming into our newsroom. Will, of course, continue to follow it.
Let me help you. Not only an eviction moratorium, expanding access to existing $30 million in funds for the emergency rent relief program for illegal immigrant tenants to make emergency rent payments for people in this country illegally residing in L.A. County. Allows redirection of state funds to pay for legal assistance for illegal immigrant detainees. Supports small businesses forced to close by addressing labor shortages because they hired illegal immigrants. And temporary waivers on fees for essential services like utilities and health care for illegal immigrants, among others. One other local note here, in addition to what we already know. By the way, the Washington Examiner just did an examination of our state budget. It's sort of wire points quality here. The state of Illinois paid $629 million towards taxpayer-funded health care, just the health care piece, for illegal immigrant adults from July 1st of last year through June 30th of this year. $624 million, which is more than was spent on roads, foster kids, elderly, and the arts combined in the state of Illinois. Mm-hmm. And a local note, this was really interesting. Email that was sent to the chief and the leadership of the Aurora Police Department, Aurora, Illinois, not Aurora, Colorado. Aurora, Illinois, which is what, the third most populous city in Illinois? This from John Lash. This is the same guy, by the way, who refused the presidential directive to lower flags to half staff in honor of Charlie Kirk. He refused. The fire chief, at least in Aurora, ignored that refusal, did it anyway. So good for him. But just gives you a sense of this classless leftist. That's the mayor of Aurora, Illinois. Hello, Chief and APD leadership, he writes. I just wanted to jot a quick thank you note for those who participated in the meeting with the Latino community about ICE in our neighborhoods. Sadly, this problem is not going away anytime soon. Listen to this. Historically, the police have been on the wrong side of history during the civil rights movement and the labor movement defending Capitol. The pivotal points in American history are when police realized that their solidarity should be with labor and not Capitol. In this current struggle, I believe that we are 2 or 3 years from a moment where we will see the shift in solidarity. I would like to see Aurora lead and show something different. It will create discomfort during the transformation. I noticed during the march towards Blue Kangaroo, whatever that is, when the police escort disappeared, that activists I didn't know used their vehicles to block the intersections and protect the marchers. All living things have the capacity to evolve and grow. Government is about to go through a huge evolutionary period and shed that which is not necessary and refocus on what is important. As government continues to disintegrate from the top down, we have an opportunity to reinvent the ways we find food, water, shelter, and protection. We would like the Aurora Police Department to play a historic role in defending the United States of America and our city against fascism. We have a unique opportunity to do something different, leave our mark in the history books and make a difference. I'm excited about the opportunity and look forward to discussing it further. He left off the workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains, but I think it's implied. Aurora, there's your leadership in the third most populous city in Illinois. It's not just Chicago where the problems reside, is it? For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Sheriff Mac Lamb. He's a former Pinal County, Arizona sheriff, founder of the American Sheriff Foundation, and law advisor for FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Sheriff Lamb, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on, Dan. And I can't even believe what you're reading, all these different things, all these headlines. It's sad that we're in this place.
Yeah, it is. Being a former sheriff in Arizona, give us your perspective on all these issues, where you think we should be focusing our attention, just from your personal experience and the change that's occurred, over the transition from one administration to the other.
Well, the fact that they're so angry tells you exactly where the resources need to be applied, which is exactly where they're being applied, to removing the people that are in this country illegally. And look, I saw that the Governor Pritzker said that he's going to potentially charge these ICE agents. That's dumb. That's as dumb as that letter you just read. The supremacy clause doesn't allow you to do that. McCullough versus Maryland from 1819, one of the landmark Supreme Court cases, gives really Congress a lot of authority beyond what's implied, or it implies more authority than beyond what's already listed. And so it gives the federal government the ability to act. Now, states don't have to help, but you can't impede them. And furthermore, when I look at Brandon Johnson and I look at Portland and I look at Aurora and all these people and all these laws they're passing, I personally think they're breaking the law. And I'll give you the code and you can decide for yourself. And that's Title 8, USC 1324 says you cannot conceal, harbor, or shield anybody that you know to be in this country illegally, which is exactly what all these leaders are doing to these communities.
I wanted to get your expertise on another matter, too, because I saw a piece where you were quoted on this. One of the hysterical charges that is leveled against ICE, in addition to the name calling, is that, they basically take people in this country that they apprehend and they put them in gulags, and it is just sort of like hostage-like conditions. And you have firsthand experience with that and dealing with ICE and the sort of the conditions that people are held in pending adjudication of their cases. What's it actually like?
Yeah, look, it's not what they say. First of all, anybody that goes to a facility like Alligator Alcatraz or one of the other very coolly named venues or detention facilities, I might add, when somebody goes there, it's because they opted to not return to their home. Now, these folks came to the country illegally. They've been apprehended. and they're now going to go through the removal process. They're given the option to go straight home. If they don't, they go to one of these facilities. These facilities, the standard of care that ICE requires, keeps most sheriffs, like I think the quote was, it was irritatingly high.
Yeah.
Most sheriffs do not even want to engage in these contracts because the level of care that is required is higher than what our American citizens who are incarcerated are getting. They have to have a barber. They have to have multiple sets of clothes. There's all sorts of standards. These facilities are great facilities. There's a facility down the road from my sheriff's office that actually had a huge covered artificial turf soccer field for these guys. They had soda machines. They had all these things inside this facility. And I think if Americans knew just how much care they were getting, I think most Americans would be pretty irritated.
I mean, no, but no day spa? I mean,
yeah, they probably do have a day spa. We actually had to have a barber on staff for that.
And I mean, it's right. And this is the way that you hear it described, as you know, is they're being the food, they're being withheld, food and water is being withheld. These are unsanitary conditions, children in cages, all the things that that have been asserted about people that are in custody pending the outcome of their adjudication or the processing of them back to their home countries. But what you're describing from your first person experience is something quite different.
Yeah, and you know what the standard calorie count we have to give people every day? At minimum, 2,800 calories a day. There's a lot of Americans that are working working hard and struggling every day that don't get 2,800 calories. And these folks are doing nothing. They came into this country illegally, and because they refused to leave, now they're being detained in the facility that we as Americans are paying for and probably getting at minimum 2,800 calories. I'm sorry it's not 5-star Michelin, but like I used to tell my inmates when they would complain about the food, I said, look, this isn't to help. Look, I'm not looking for 5-star reviews, nor do I want you to come back. And these inmates, but I promise you, these inmates, the care that they're getting is far beyond many of their lives that they lived in the countries they came from.
But this point that Tom Homan made the other day in a sit-down he did with Breitbart, and he's made on our program as well, and he makes all the time, but can't be stated enough, as I was saying the other day, is what happened in the previous administration is these people came here illegally. They were put on the non-detained docket rather than on the detention docket. They put it on the detention docket that they're in one of the facilities you described where they're treated, quite humanely, more than humanely. And they get a hearing in 30 to 45 days. If they're on the non-detention docket and they're just farmed out to some NGO and put up at some hotel around the country, they're not in the government's hands, as it were. Then this process can take years, and it was not a space thing because there were thousands of beds that were going unused at ICE facilities. This was intentional by the previous administration to buy people who came here illegally time so that maybe there could be some amnesty, or you would have administrations or state and local regimes that would just ignore the fact that they're here illegally and resist working with ICE and so forth. But the point is to figure out ways to allow the people who came here illegally to stay, and actually subverting the very due process that they're always claiming they desire for people here illegally.
That's exactly right. Look, we would pull people over 2024. I'm a sheriff. I'm out there pulling people over, and ICE Border Patrol would give them papers a lot of times. When they were being released, they were giving papers, and their papers for their court dates were starting to get as far out as 2030, and the longest out we saw was 2032. So you're talking about 6 years. They didn't have to show up to the court for 6 years for a false asylum claim that they made. And so, the system is broken. We don't have enough judges, and now the president he's made some changes. I think due process is an American thing, but due process, let's say we do apply due process here, I think due process can be as simple as an agent deciding whether you are here in this country legally or illegally. And President Trump has done a great job by allowing the military now to come in and be the arbiters of that. And so they'll get their due process, but it will be quick and it will be the way it should be. And if anybody's mad at President Trump, who they should be mad at is President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Mayorkas and that administration, because they are the ones that failed to do their job, that they intentionally opened the borders to flood this country full of people. And they did it for 4 years. And this is the consequences of what they did. So if you want to be mad at somebody, if you don't like people being removed from this country, which Bill Clinton and Obama did as well, then you should be mad at Joe Biden, because he is the one that let these people in this country.
And what is the situation in Arizona today as compared to under Biden? I haven't heard much from your Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs on the topic. She's been noticeably silent.
Yeah. Well, luckily, it's been much better, and that has nothing to do with Governor Katie Hobbs. That has to do with President Trump. All we needed was new leadership, and they were able to come in. It started to have an impact, a positive impact, before President Trump was even sworn in. Now that President Trump has been sworn in, the last 10 months have been phenomenal, being able to stop the flow of people. We still have a huge job in removing people, and there are still people showing up to the border. They're being apprehended and being removed and being processed the way they're supposed to be processed. So the difference has been stark. Now what we're seeing some large drug seizures. The cartel is now forced to go back to their old methods for getting people in. But just a quick note to the Americans who are listening and people in Chicago. The cartels over the last 4 years brought a lot of drugs and humans into this country. And they did it for a lot of reasons, because they knew that if President Trump won, there's a downturn in their market. There is a ton of drugs already in this country, and they continue to bring it in. But more alarming is they are trafficking human beings. Women and children are being trafficked for sex and labor in this country every day. And the benefactors are the cartel. They understand that you can sell a pill once, but you can sell a human being over and over and over again. And so this is one of the reasons why we need to clean this mess up, because even the people on the other side who think they are the arbiters and the authors of self-righteousness, they are allowing for women and children who were trafficked into this country illegally to be used and abused every day in this country at the hands of the cartels, and the cartels continue to make money with that.
He is former Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb. He's also a founder of the American Sheriff Foundation and law enforcement advisor to the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Sheriff Lamb, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. You're an adult, right? But you should know gold has increased over 80% in the past 2 years. Yeah, 80%. So if you think stuffing money under your mattress or riding the roller coaster of Wall Street is your retirement plan, well, I wouldn't want to be banking on that strategy. It's time to diversify your savings and retirement assets into physical metals like gold and silver. That's where Advantage Gold comes in. When you call 800-741-GOLD, we'll send you a free gold kit that explains how